Listen, every resin you buy this month is going up. Polyethylene, polypropylene, ABS, PVC, nylons, PET, all of them at the same time. And if you've been in the seat long enough on the buy side, you've probably already done what most buyers do in the ninth and 13th increased letters of the month start hitting their inbox. You added it to the stack and maybe flagged it for follow up in your inbox and moved on to the next one. And this week, we're going to talk about why that's costing you more than you think it is, and one conversation tactic that can help you change the outcome. Let's get into Resin Market Moves for this week. Let's start with the scope of what we're dealing with here because it's important to understand just how unique of a moment we're in. Brent crude crossed 105 a barrel last week. WTI is sitting at 95, roughly 96. And the Middle East conflict that is started this cycle hasn't resolved. It's deepened. Fresh off the news wire is Trump canceling the envoy that was to be sent to Pakistan to help negotiate. So the root cause is driving everything that you're about to hear. Polyethylene producers nominated 30 cents. We're expecting about half of that, but there's already 20 cents a pound of nomination on the table for May. So that's 35 cents of cumulative exposure just across those 2 months alone. And that's not taking into account what was already in place for March. Polypropylene, the fourth consecutive month of increase. PGP, that key feedstock, hit 53 cents a pound this week and is trending higher. Formosa has a new line that's back online. Production is up, but the market has absorbed it. Days of supply remains unchanged at 36 days. And with May nominations already up to 12 cents a pound. ABS has the widest nomination spread of any resin that we looked at last week, 15 to up to 30 cents a pound. That spread tells you that producers themselves aren't quite sure where this is going to land. And, with so many feedstocks, benzene, butadiene, styrene, all elevated at the same time, the cost case is there on the feedstock side. PVC, this one is very specific with multiple turnarounds. OxyChem, Shintech, Formosa, Point Comfort all happening at the same time, which is causing an inventory draw in March that we saw of over 200 million pounds. So between 5 to 7 cents in April and 4 cents nominated in May is what we're looking at there. And nylon 6, caprolactam jumped $80 per metric ton in a single week, which is a quarter, the 25% move in 7 days. So if you're buying nylon 6, that's an important signal to look at, and we're going to see that in the supply chain here soon. Every single increase this cycle back is to the same upstream chain, crude oil, and the geopolitical premium baked in right now is there. Until this resolves itself, the cost floor is going to be elevated, certainly to what we expected moving into the year. So that's the market. Now let's talk about what you do with it. I want to talk about something that doesn't usually make it into the market reports or anything other than just dialogue in the industry, but it's affecting how the cycle is going to play out for buyers. And it's what I'm going to call increase fatigue, or really fatigue when there's a seemingly bombardment of negative information. But when you receive enough price increases in a row, the same format, the same language, same high-level justifications, there's a psychological effect. You stop reacting, you process it like another fee and your utility bill. You file it, you move on. And that response is completely understandable. It's human nature to some extent. Managing a high volume of simultaneous increase initiatives is exhausting, and prioritizing your energy is rational. But the problem with that is that the nomination is not the final number. It never is. The gap between what producers ask for and what they actually realize, that exists in every cycle, and it closes or doesn't based on how buyers engage or how they don't. And on polyethylene right now, the gap is 15 cents on a 5 million pound annual purchase. That's $250,000. So that number doesn't move if nobody calls. The stackage isn't just paperwork. Every letter you set aside without a conversation is a decision you've already made. I had a conversation this week with Bill Bowie, someone that's been in the industry longer than most of us. He's got a buyer behavior read that I really respect and trust. And what he said has stuck with me. Bill made the observation that in markets like this one, where increases are coming from every direction simultaneously, buyers can lose sight of the most powerful tool that is at their disposal. And it's the personal relationship that they have with their sales contact, not the process of procurement, not the language in the contracts, the individual, the rep that knows the account, knows the history, and knows the reasons that there's been a relationship built and the loyalty. The point is simple. Most buyers, never call everybody and ask, right? They respond to the letter formally, or they escalate, or they do nothing. And the direct human conversation, please walk me through what this means for me specifically, is rare. And in that experience, that conversation, if you have it right, it changes the outcome more consistently than almost any other lever the buyer has at that point. The rep on the other line is going to decide, you know, how to go to bat for you internally, and they have the discretion, the relationships with their teams to do so. And they use that discretion for accounts that make them feel like partners, not adversaries. Bill's, framing was you've spent years building the relationship. A cycle like this is exactly when you should be spending that relationship capital. And if you can pull out pieces of information that you can then use on the way down in a fair way, that's what you need to do. So here's exactly what I recommend you do. First thing, make a list of your top 3 resin by dollar exposure, not by volume necessarily, but by the cost. Those are the calls you make first. Second, call your rep, not email, not call, not text. Email gives them the cover to give you a template in response. A phone call is a conversation, and it leads to accountability on both sides. And third, open with curiosity, not confrontation. The line that I've seen work best, hey, I got the letter. I'm not calling to fight you. I just want to understand, what does this mean for us specifically? Please walk me through it. That framing just changes the dynamic immediately. And fourth, ask questions that maybe they won't put in writing. Like, what's the realistic settlement range? Is there any timing flexibility? What does our volume history mean? Is there anything we can do? Extended commit, payment terms to earn a better outcome. And number 5 is close by making them your advocate. It's asking directly, what do you need for me to go to bat for us? If you can give them ammunition, they can't use it if you don't provide it. So none of this is going to guarantee that you move the number, but I can tell you from what I've seen with the buyers that we come across is the ones that have these conversations more consistently absorb less material cost over the ones that don't. The relationship is the leverage, and it's time to use it. So as a quick recap, the April market is broad-based of an upcycle as we've seen. Every major resin moving at the same time, and all due to upstream feedstock costs. May nominations are already on the table. Your cumulative Q2 exposure is real, and it's going to grow. The feedstocks to watch heading into next week: PGP, benzene, crude oil. Those are the big ones, but certainly all of them right now. And the one thing I want to take away from the week: don't let the volume of the letters make you passive. The stack is exactly where suppliers want your energy to go right now. It's time to call your rep, make it personal, ask why you specifically are getting the increase. And that conversation is going to lead to better outcomes for you and your business. All right, we'll talk to you next week. Thanks.